In this video, we'll explore the triggers feature, which is the key to starting Automs automatically in Automate. Triggers allow your workflows to run in response to specific events or schedules, eliminating manual effort and making your processes more efficient. Triggers initiate Automs based on predefined conditions, whether it's a set time, an incoming email, or a webhook from another app. This ensures your workflows respond dynamically to your business needs. Automate supports several types of triggers, each designed for different automation needs. We have webhook triggers, API triggers, email triggers, and scheduled triggers. The webhook trigger connects external applications to Automate in real time. When something happens in an external app, it sends data via a webhook to Automate, triggering the corresponding Autom. Each Autom has a unique webhook URL, and external apps send trigger events to this URL along with the necessary data. Automate doesn't poll for triggers. Instead, the apps push events as they occur. Webhook URLs are secured with an API key that's generated within Automate. We also have the API trigger. External systems can also trigger workflows in Automate by making API calls. This allows for dynamic integration and real-time automation. Automate provides configurable endpoint URLs for specific API calls and support different HTTP methods like GET and POST to handle various interactions. Security and authentication mechanisms ensure these interactions are safe. We have the email trigger. This trigger executes an Autom when a new email meeting specific criteria arrives in a designated mailbox. Automate periodically checks the mailbox using POP3 or IMAP protocols and triggers the Autom when matching emails are found. You can configure the connection settings such as host address, connection method, and port, and set filters like from address, subject, and email description. The retrieved email data is stored in an array variable in JSON format, containing details like the email ID, subject, body, sender, CC, date, and attachments. It also supports OAuth protocols for secure mailbox connections, such as with Gmail. And lastly, we have the scheduled trigger. With this trigger, you can execute Automs at specific times, intervals, or recurrence patterns, such as hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. You can set the timing type to once only for one-time execution, or use minute, daily, weekly, or monthly intervals as mentioned. For webhook triggers, you first need to obtain the webhook URL for your Autom. This URL is unique to each Autom. Then, you'll define the event details in the external app that will send data to this URL when an event occurs. So for static, we have our trigger URL and the trigger rule that you want to set. Then for custom, we're going to input the rule name, description, parameters, key, operator, target value, and status. We can then set it to create and use, or to only use. For API triggers, navigate to the API section in Automate and select API triggers. Copy the endpoint URL provided and configure security settings, including authentication. Then, set the actions or workflows that will be triggered by the API call. After setting it up, you can test it by sending an API request and monitoring the response. Here is where you're going to put the trigger URL, and here is where you can choose the trigger rule, once again. Same with the custom as we already had with the webhook. For email triggers, you can configure the connection settings by setting the host address, connection method, port, and interval type. Then, define the filter criteria based on specific email attributes, such as the sender's address or the email subject. The retrieved email data will be stored in an array variable in JSON format for use within the Autom. And finally, for scheduled triggers, choose the timing that fits your needs, once only, minute, daily, weekly, monthly, or by date and time. Set the schedule and the Autom will run at those specific times. By using triggers, you can ensure that your Automs are executed exactly when needed, improving efficiency and reducing manual work. Triggers are an essential part of Automate, allowing you to automate workflows based on events or schedules.